Hello Year 10, it's Miss Jewis here again, ready for your next lesson on Romeo and Juliet. In today's lesson, we are going to be looking at the structure of the play and we're going to be reading a few more scenes. Before you do now, can you answer those two questions there on the screen? So just write down a couple of sentences in response to those. So what have you noticed about the mood and or tone in each scene, and why do you think Shakespeare has done this? Okay, so that first question, the mood or tone in each scene. If we look back at the play, okay, from Act 1, Scene 1, up to where we've read to, up to Act 2, Scene 3, there are some contrasting scenes in terms of the tone and the mood, okay? Some scenes are quite violent and full of conflict, and others, especially the scenes just between Romeo and Juliet, they are quite loving and calm sort of scenes. Okay, why has Shakespeare done this? He might do this to build tension, okay, in the play, to build tension for the audience as they are watching. Okay, so like I said, today we are looking at how structure is used for effect, specifically in the three scenes that we are going to have a look at today. So 3 scenes we're going to look at today: Act 2, Scene 4, Act 2, Scene 5, and Act 2, Scene 6. This is the end of Act 2 when we finish these 3 scenes. So what we're going to do is we are going to read just a part of Act 2, Scene 4, then we're going to read the whole of Act 2, Scene 5, and the whole of Act 2, Scene 6. So in Act 2, Scene 4, Benvolio and Mercutio, okay, they share some jokes about Tybalt's challenge to Romeo and Romeo's obsession with Rosaline. Okay, so they're joking around at the beginning, and then the nurse comes to see Romeo and he tells her of his plan to marry Juliet that day. Remember the scene just before this one, Romeo has agreed with Friar Lawrence that he's going to marry Juliet. And then we have Act 2, Scene 5. So in this scene, Juliet is at home. She's really impatiently waiting for the nurse to return with news from Romeo. And the nurse teases Juliet and then tells her about the wedding arrangements. And then the last scene we're going to look at today, Act 2, Scene 6. Friar Lawrence, he warns Romeo about getting married too quickly. And although he is keen to get the wedding underway, Juliet meets Romeo and the friar at the friar's cell, and they head off to church. So as we read through these scenes, I want you to consider how the mood and the tone changes between each scene. Okay, so what kind of atmosphere is created in each scene. So this is the very beginning of Act 2, Scene 4. This is just the extract that we are going to read from this scene. So we don't need to read the whole thing, but there are some important lines in this part. So let's start reading. We are on a street in Verona. Enter Benvolio and Mercutio. Where the devil should this Romeo be? Came he not home tonight? Not to his father's. I spoke with his man. Why, that same pale, hard-hearted wretch, that Rosaline, torments him so that he will sure run mad. Tybalt, the kinsman of old Capulet, hath sent a letter to his father's house. A challenge on my life. Romeo will answer it. Any man that can write may answer a letter. Nay, he will answer the letter's master, how he dares, being dead. Alas, poor Romeo, he is already dead, stabbed with a white wench's black eye, shot through the ear with a love song, the very pin of his heart cleft with the blind bow boy's butt shaft. And is he a man to encounter Tybalt? Why, what is Tybalt? More than Prince of Cats, I can tell you. Oh, he is the courageous captain of compliments. He fights as you sing prick song, keeps time, distance, and proportion. He rests his men in rest, 1, 2, and the third in your bosom, the very butcher of a silk button, a duellist, a gentleman of the very first house, of the first and second cause. Ah, the immortal passado, the punto reverso, the hay. Okay, so in the beginning of this scene, you have Mercutio ask, where is Romeo? Remember, at this point, Mercutio, Benvolio, they know nothing of Juliet. Okay, they last saw Romeo at the party. So they think that he is still in love with Rosaline and he's maybe staying away because he's still sort of pining for her love. Okay. And they joke a little bit about his love with Rosaline. But then Benvolio, he says that something has happened. So Tybalt has sent a letter to his father's house. So Tybalt has sent a letter to Romeo, a letter asking to fight, okay, saying he wants to fight him, a challenge. That is because, if you remember, at the Capulets party, Tybalt heard Romeo's voice and wanted to kill him. So he's now challenging Romeo. And what that does there is it reminds the audience that there is danger, that there is conflict in this play, and that Romeo's actions can be quite dangerous. Okay, so there is still conflict and fighting in this play, even though Romeo and Juliet are now in love. So Benvolio, he's saying, Romeo is going to answer this challenge, but Mercutio isn't so sure. Okay, Mercutio, he says, if you look at the bottom of that first column, Romeo, he is already dead, stabbed with a white wench's black eye, run through the ear with a love song. Okay, so he's saying that Romeo is weakened. He's already dead by love. Okay, so because he's so in love, because he was so sad over Rosaline, he's not really a man anymore. He's not ready to fight. Okay. He basically says he's been hit with Cupid's arrow, okay, and therefore he's not man enough to face Tybalt. And then Mercutio goes on to talk about Tybalt. He says that Tybalt is a prince of cats. That is a reference to a character in a set of well-known old stories, Prince of Cats, who was a character who was also quite quarrelsome, wanting to fight. And it says he fights as you sing prick song to Benvolio. So what that means is it's music sung very accurately. Okay, so he fights very well. Okay, is what Mercutio is trying to say. He fights like perfection. Okay, and that might be quite dangerous for Romeo in the end. Okay, I would like you to pause the video and then answer the 3 questions that are on the screen there. When you unpause, we will go through them. Okay, so question number 1, what do Benvolio and Mercutio think of Tybalt? So Mercutio, he obviously thinks that he is a good fighter. Okay, wouldn't want to fight him. He is a good duelist. Okay, so they think that he's quite aggressive, maybe quite manly. The next question, what do they think of Romeo? So Benvolio, he kind of says he thinks that Romeo will answer the challenge, he will fight Tybalt, whereas Mercutio, he thinks that Romeo is weakened by love, okay, therefore not ready to fight someone like Tybalt. What could this scene be foreshadowing? So this scene could be foreshadowing a potential fight between Tybalt and Romeo. Okay, it puts the audience a little bit more on edge at the beginning of this scene. If you think the previous scenes that we've had are all focused on Romeo and Juliet and their love, this scene, it reminds us of the danger, reminds us of the conflict in the play. We're not going to read the rest of Act 2, Scene 4, because it does go on for quite a while. But what happens is Romeo comes onto the scene and Mercutio really teases Romeo about being in love, like he has before. And then the nurse enters and the nurse asks Romeo, what is the plan for the marriage? And Romeo tells her that he and Juliet are going to be married that night. Okay, so we're going to move on and have a look at Act 2, Scene 5. So in this scene, the nurse has obviously just been to Romeo and found out that he is planning on marrying Juliet. So this scene is the nurse telling Juliet about the plan, about the marriage. So it starts off, Juliet's on her own. in Capulet's orchard, and she's talking to herself here about how impatient she is, waiting for the nurse to return with the news from Romeo. So she says, "The clock struck 9 when I did send thee, nurse. In half an hour she promised to return. Perchance she cannot meet him. That's not so. Oh, she is lame. Love's heralds should be thoughts, which 10 times faster glide than the sun's beams, driving back shadows over luring hills. Therefore do nimble pinioned doves draw love, and therefore hath the wind shift Cupid's wings. Now is the sun upon the highmost hill of this day's journey, and from 9 till 12 is 3 long hours, yet she is not come. Had she affections and warm youthful blood, she would be as swift in motion as a ball. My words would bandy her to my sweet love, and his to me, but old folks may feign as they were dead, unwieldy, slow, heavy, and pale as lead. Oh God, she comes." So at the beginning there, we hear that Juliet sent the nurse out to speak to Romeo at 9. Half an hour she promised to return. Obviously the nurse is running a little bit late, and we see Juliet being very on edge, very impatient. We can tell she's quite excited, really anticipating the nurse's return so that she knows what's going to happen with Romeo. She might come across a little bit childish here, where she is being so impatient. Okay, but mostly we just sense her like anticipation and excitement. Okay. So then the nurse comes in. So enter nurse and Peter. "Oh, honey nurse, what news? Hast thou met with him? Send thy man away." "Peter, stay at the gate." "Now, good sweet nurse, O Lord, why lookest thou sad? Though news be sad, yet tell them merrily. If good, thou shamest the music of sweet news by playing it to me with so sour a face. I am aweary, give me leave a while. Fie, how my bones ache, what jaunt have I had? I would thou hadst my bones, and I thy news. Nay, come, I pray thee, speak, good nurse, speak. Jesu, what haste! Can you not stay a while? Do you not see that I am out of breath?" So here, Juliet's asking the nurse, "Why lookest thou sad? Why do you look sad?" Okay. He says, "You're going to play me this news with so sour a face." So the nurse is putting on a sort of sad face, almost to trick Juliet into thinking that she brings bad news. So she's playing a little joke on her by not telling her straight away that Romeo wants to marry her. Okay, let's carry on. Juliet, "How art thou out of breath when thou hast breath to say to me that thou art out of breath? The excuse that thou dost make in this delay is longer than the tale thou dost excuse. Is thy news good or bad? Answer to that. Say either, and I'll stay the circumstance. Let me be satisfied. Is it good or bad?" So here, Juliet really just wants the nurse to get to the point. She's just asking her over and over again, she's kind of repeating herself. Do you have good or bad news? Okay, is Romeo going to marry her or not? And the nurse, she replies, "Well, you have made a simple choice. You know not how to choose a man. Romeo? No, not he. Though his face be better than any man's, yet his leg excels all men's. And for a hand and a foot and a body, though they be not to be talked on, yet they are past compare. He is not the flower of courtesy, but I'll warrant him as gentle as a lamb. Go thy ways, wench, serve God. What, have you dined at home?" No, but all this I did I know before. What says he of our marriage? What of that? Lord, how my head aches. What a head have I! It beats as it would fall in 20 pieces. My back, oh, to other side, oh, my back, beshrew your heart for sending me about to catch my death with jaunting up and down. I faith, I am sorry that thou art not well. Sweet nurse, tell me, what says my love? Your love says, like an honest gentleman, and a courteous, and a kind, and a handsome, and I warrant a virtuous. Where is your mother? Where is my mother? Why, she is within. Where should she be? How oddly thou repliest. Your love says, like an honest gentleman, where is your mother? O God's lady dear, are you so hot? Marry, come up, I trow, it is the poultice for my aching bones. Henceforward, do your messages yourself. Here's such a coil. Come, what says Romeo? Have you got leave to go to shrift today? I have. Then hie you hence to Friar Lawrence's cell. There stays a husband to make you a wife. Now comes the wanton blood up in your cheeks. They'll be in scarlet straight at any news. Hie you to church. I must another way, to fetch a ladder by the which your love must climb a bird's nest soon when it is dark. I am the drudge and toil in your delight, but you shall bear the burden soon at night. Go, I'll to dinner, hie you to the cell. Hie to high fortune, honest nurse, farewell. Okay, so it takes a long time for the nurse to get to the point. Okay, she keeps changing the subject. She asks things like, have you dined at home, or where is your mother? Juliet, she gets increasingly, more annoyed at the nurse. So it's quite a funny scene. The nurse brings a bit of comedy to the play. And then eventually the nurse tells Juliet, in that last bit, she says there, go to Friar Lawrence's cell, there stays a husband to make you a wife. Okay. When the nurse asks her, have you got leave to go to shrift today? What that means is, like, have you got leave to go to prayer today? Okay, so we know in the Elizabethan era, women were not allowed out on their own. They were mostly chaperoned by someone, or went where their parents told them to go. But Juliet is allowed out on her own to go to confession, to go to church. Okay, so Juliet is going to go to Friar Lawrence's cell as if she's going to make a confession, as if she's going to church, and she is going to marry Romeo. Okay, this is the first example we see here of Juliet disobeying her parents. Okay, she's going to go against her parents' wishes and marry Romeo. So we've got 2 questions there. So pause the video now, have a go at answering those questions, and then we will go through them. Okay, so question 1, why does the nurse delay giving the news to Juliet? What does this show us about her character? So the nurse, she teases Juliet a lot. Okay, she teases her and delays giving the news, and that could show us that she's quite a funny character, she's quite a comedic character, okay, and she likes to tease Juliet. It shows us that she has quite a good sense of humour, okay, and she's quite playful with Juliet, which is in contrast to maybe how formal her parents would be with her. What do we learn about the relationship between the nurse and Juliet from this scene? So we learn that they are very close. Okay, obviously Juliet has confided in the nurse. Okay, nobody else knows that she's going to marry Romeo. She's only told the nurse, and the nurse has helped her to organise it. That shows that they're very close. Also, the way they talk to each other with all the teasing and the informal way they speak to each other, that shows us as well how close their relationship is. Okay, so the last scene we're going to read today is Act 2, Scene 6. As you can see on the screen there, it is a very short scene. This is the whole scene, okay? And this is the scene just before Romeo and Juliet are about to get married, and Friar Lawrence, he gives them a bit of a warning. Okay, so it starts off in Friar Lawrence's cell. So smile the heavens upon this holy act, that after hours with sorrow chide us not. What Friar Lawrence is saying there, he's saying, may heaven smile upon this holy act, okay, upon this marriage. And where he says that after hours with sorrow chide us not, he's saying hopefully afterwards, so in the future, after the hours, they won't regret it. Sorrow is not going to make fun of them. Okay, so he's really hoping that he's not going to regret this decision, but he does already have those thoughts in his head. Romeo, he says, "Amen, amen, but come, what sorrow can? It cannot countervail the exchange of joy that one short minute gives me in her sight. Do thou but close our hands with holy words, then love devouring death do what he dare. It is enough, I may but call her mine." Okay. So Romeo here, he's almost tempting fate. It's a little bit of dramatic irony, because he's saying, what sorrow can come from this joy? Okay, he's saying their love is so powerful that it will be so joyful. But we know from the prologue that Romeo and Juliet are going to die. So a little bit of dramatic irony, building up a little bit of tension for the audience. Friar Lawrence, he says, "These violent delights have violent ends, and in their triumph die, like fire and powder, which as they kiss consume. The sweetest honey is loathsome in his own deliciousness, and in the taste confounds the appetite. Therefore love moderately, long love doth so. Too swift arrives as tardy as too slow. Here comes the lady, oh, so light of foot, will ne'er wear out the everlasting flint. A lover may bestride the gossamer that idles in the wanton summer air, and yet not fall, so light is vanity." Okay. Here we've got these violent delights have violent ends. Okay, so violent delights, we've got some contrasting words, oxymoron there, and he's giving Romeo a warning here. Okay, he's saying that if you love sort of too passionately, too violently, okay, then you might not have a good end. Okay, he's saying, therefore love moderately, long love doth so. Okay, so in order to have a long love, you need to love moderately, which is not what Romeo and Juliet are doing. Okay, so he's giving them a bit of a warning there. And then Juliet enters, so she says, "Good even to my ghostly confessor. Romeo shall thank thee, daughter, for us both. As much to him, else is his thanks too much. Ah, Juliet, if the measure of thy joy be heaped like mine, and that thy skill be more to blazon it, then sweeten with thy breath this neighbour air, and let rich music's tongue unfold the imagined happiness that both receive in either by this dear encounter. Conceit more rich in matter than in words, brags of his substance, not of ornament. But they are but beggars that can count their worth. But my true love is grown to such excess, I cannot sum up some of half my wealth. Come, come with me, and we will make short work, for by your leaves you shall not stay alone, till Holy Church incorporate two in one." And then accent. Okay, so Romeo and Juliet obviously are very happy about being married. Romeo says to her, if your joy is anything like mine, then, we are both going to be very happy. Okay. And then Friar Lawrence at the end there says, come with me, we'll make short work. And he takes them off to be married. It seems a very brief, a very short scene for the moment almost that the audience has been waiting for Romeo and Juliet to come together. So I want you to try and answer that question there. Why are Romeo and Juliet married off stage? Why do we not get to see the ceremony, the wedding? Okay, have a think about that. Okay, so we might not have Romeo and Juliet married on stage because it possibly could reflect the sort of hurried nature of their relationship, how frantic it has been from the beginning, and sort of how quickly they have married. It reflects that for us. Okay, so what I would like you to do is have a look back at the words that Friar Lawrence speaks here. So this is his warning to Romeo and Juliet. He says, these violent delights have violent ends, and in their triumph die, like fire and powder, which as they kiss consume. I'd like you to answer the questions on the screen there. So the first one, what are the connotations of the words fire and powder? So connotations is what we associate with those two words. And then the second question, what warning is the friar giving Romeo and Juliet? What is he warning them of? And then if you can, have a go at the challenge question. So pause the video now to do that, and then come back and we'll go through it. So the first question, what are the connotations of the word fire and powder? So fire, obviously associate with danger, maybe some kind of explosion, and also something that's quite out of control and uncontrollable. Okay. Powder, so in this line, powder could be referring to gunpowder. Okay, in this time they would have had gunpowder, and what the friar is almost trying to say is that Romeo and Juliet's love, it's like a trail of sort of gunpowder it's destined to explode, it's destined to go up in flames. Okay. What warning is the friar giving Romeo and Juliet? So he's warning them that their love is too quick and too rushed, and that is going to end, like I've just said, it's going to end in this explosion. Okay, it's not going to end well. How can we link this speech to other parts of the play? This could link to the prologue. Okay, the prologue, it warns us of Romeo and Juliet's fate. It warns us that they are a pair of star-crossed lovers who are going to take their life. So we could, at this point, the audience is reminded again that Romeo and Juliet are destined to die. And this speech from Friar Lawrence, it really reminds us of that. Okay, for your main task, I would like you to create a tension graph based on what we have read of the play so far. So we have read all of Act 1 and all of Act 2. Okay, so a tension graph, I want you to plot the events of the play chronologically along the bottom. Then on the side, you've got least tense to most tense. So for each scene, I just want you to do a dot on the graph, just plot how tense do you think that scene has been. Okay, so I've got a really, really brief summary of each scene so far on the screen there, in case you've forgotten what's happened. So have a look back through everything that's happened in the play so far. Okay, you might start by plotting what scene you think has been the most tense, and then plotting all your other scenes from there. Okay, when you've done, try to have a look, see if there are any patterns. Okay, how has Shakespeare structured it? Where are the tense scenes? And what's he doing with all of these scenes? And then if you can, have a go at the challenge question there. How has Shakespeare structured the play to create interest? See if you can write a paragraph on that. When you've finished your work, please email it to your English teacher, okay, on your school email. Also email your English teacher if you are struggling with any of this work or if you need any support. Okay, they are there on their emails to respond to you, so make sure you do that. And when you finish your graph, that is the end of today's lesson. I will speak to you next time. Okay, bye.